Renovations will make First Bank Stadium environment unique and imposing.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Now, as we approach the season, the offensive line, well, it's taking shape now a little bit. The wide receivers got a boost from the injured list. So the offense is starting to kind of be back on the up and up. But most importantly, their home, First Bank Stadium, well, it's turning into a, quote, unique and imposing environment. What does that mean exactly? Well, after scrimmage 2, which was their first time in First Bank Stadium this season since last season closed, and they held scrimmage number 2 there, and let's just say that it impressed Clark Lee in ways more than just on the field play. He raved about the renovations. He was excited at the progress. The video board's operational. It's all starting to come together. All right, this is what he had to say. He said, "We're finally going to have an environment when this is all finished that I think will be unique, but I also think it will be imposing." He goes on to say, it's about us putting a product on the field, and it's about a community getting inspired here around us to fill the stadium with black shirts and to make it a hard place to play. We can do that. I have ownership in that in terms of getting the team where it needs to be." So I'll leave that quote up here for just a little bit. So there's a lot to take away from this, okay? And there's a lot that he is saying here, and some of it is some of the stuff that I've been saying a little bit, with these stadium renovations and hoping that some things will change. And he's recognizing that, for this to be an environment that, can create, or for them to be able to create a home environment, they have to give the fans a reason, right? He thinks that with the building, if it's filled with Vanderbilt fans, that it can be a difficult place to play. And he's exactly right. And he is, he's doing all the changes he's made in the offseason. And even though the news from the scrimmages haven't been all positive, there's some bumps in the road during fall camp. And that's kind of what fall camp is about, is finding the bumps in the road so you can fix them. But just all the things that have happened from the end of the season up until now is all in an effort to make this place unique and imposing, because the environment being unique is there's nothing like it. It's real compact. There's really good premium seats. The building kind of encloses a little bit, will create a little bit of noise there where there wasn't before. And there's a buzz around these renovations. I mean, they've already sold out. So if these people don't sell those tickets to opposing fans, maybe when this is all said and done, when the south end zone is done next year and the north end zone is complete at some point this season, hopefully in time for game 1, which doesn't seem likely, but this is going to be an atmosphere that I think will start to help to turn the tide. Now, I've said in previous episodes, I've said this before, that I think Vanderbilt fans can impact the game. People don't think that because it's not a big stadium. It doesn't get overly loud. The atmosphere is odd, or it has been odd. But I think that if they pack it out, there was a time when James Franklin was here that it was, for a brief minute, not an easy place to play. Now, Vanderbilt had back-to-back 9-win seasons. It was probably one of the better runs in Vanderbilt football history, or at least in modern era football. But that season showed that there is a chance for this thing to happen. Now, the stadium was was not very good at that point. The stadium was subpar best. I mean, they had some recent slight renovations, but at that point there were none. It was still really old, almost falling apart, not very intimidating. There's a lot of things about Vanderbilt Stadium at that point that wasn't very good, but the potential now, with as nice as it's going to be and the design of it, will create that atmosphere. And it's just going to take fans being able to get into there, and it's going to take the team giving the fans a reason to show up, giving them a reason to yell on third down, giving them a reason to go crazy, and to create an environment that is not comfortable for the visiting teams. So in order to do that, Clark Lee is going to have to take that first step. And I think there are a lot of first steps. And I've been talking about the quarterback situation. I've been talking about the strength and conditioning, Jerry Kill. I've been talking about how the defense has improved, and the restructuring of the organization has allowed Clark Lee to focus a little bit more on the defensive side of the ball, where he's going to be calling plays. Like, I think there's a lot of improvements here that's going to help him. And I'll go back to the quote, that's going to help him have ownership. See, he says, I have ownership in terms of getting this team where it needs to be. I think he's doing that, right? And this quote is from an article on VandySports.com, by the way. But he was, like I said, he was very, very excited about it. And I think that should, when you think about it, I think that should go a long way, because you rarely ever see Clark Lee get excited. You rarely see his body language. It's not just businesslike, and he has a nickname, Milk Toast, or he's like, and people have said that he's a robot and emotionless and things like that. But it really kind of struck him when they walked in and saw that for the first time. I mean, saw how far it's come along, and just to see that when you look at it from the field level, that video board, which is functional now, towers above you, right? And that facade is just looming down on you. And just imagine fans being all in those concourses, all those seats. Just a thought of just like, is right there on top of you, right there on the field. It's just staring down at you. And that goes, that can be kind of intimidating. So he's excited about all that. And he is, I think for the first time, he's like, okay, well, maybe, this looks way more intimidating than it did in pictures. Like in pictures, it looks impressive. But when you're standing down there, you don't realize how imposing it looks. And I think that's the reason why I use that word. But he realizes that, okay, well, it all kind of struck him like, hey, all the things that I've done, all the changes that I've made are going towards helping create an environment here in First Bank Stadium that is imposing. So there's a little bit of that. He also made a joke that, hey, we've come a long way since the scoreboard on a crane and the dust bowl from where all the construction stuff was. And I'm going to miss the scoreboard on a on a crane. So that's going to be different. So I love what this environment's going to bring. I love the fact that Vanderbilt may have a team that's viable to create an atmosphere here at the stadium, here at First Bank Stadium. I think some things are turning for Vanderbilt athletics. I think basketball has made a turn. Baseball will hopefully follow suit, but football, I think, has made a turn as well. And I think that despite some of the reports, I think this might not be a bad thing. So I think the environment will be good. I think fans will have a chance to impact it, and they'll have a chance to really kind of make their mark on, okay, we're going to finally turn Vanderbilt into a place that is imposing. So in order to do that, though, again, you have to have a product on the field that's worth watching and cheering for. And I think that's going to happen. Darian Wiley, returning from injury, is going to give the receiver room a little bit more explosiveness. If they can figure out how to get the ball downfield to him, that might be a dangerous situation for this offense. And I think you're going to have another guy in there that can make some plays can take a slant to the house, whatever the case may be. But Darian Wiley should give a boost to the wide receiver room as he gets reintegrated back into the picture. We'll talk about him more in detail and what he means to the wide receiver room next. All right, this episode is brought to you by Gametime. Did you know that Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier? Well, check this out. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets, right? There's a 50% off Labor Day offer for the Diamondbacks and Dodgers. I'm sure wherever you are, there's some sort of Labor Day offer for you, okay? So here's what happens, all right? And you can customize your spot. So Gametime Picks curation makes it easier to save more on sports, comedy, and theater, okay? If it's there, if it's easy, it's going to be better for you to save money. All right, all-in pricing means if you toggle this feature, it shows you the total up front. There's no surprise fees. Again, you have to turn on this feature. It's not automatic, so make sure you do that. All right, don't come rushing to the comments and going, "Hey, I used Gametime and it gave me surprise fees." Well, you had probably all-in pricing toggled off. So you get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. So as you look through, you still get that. That is still my favorite feature. They also have the lowest price guarantee, or Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. They're making a bet here. They're saying, "I bet you can't find a lower ticket price." And usually they're right. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. And if any of that sounds great, take the guesswork out of buying concert tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, we're also brought to you by FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we have something a little different for you. Now, through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5. That's right, $5 to get you a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then, with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season game every regular season Sunday afternoon out of market game. That was just so good, I had to repeat it, right? I was just in such disbelief. But all you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. So just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook. All right. Welcome back. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. But hey, did you know that college football is back and it is not too late to catch up before the season kicks off? SEC, ACC, Big 10, and Big 12. You can get all from Locked On stable of college experts by subscribing to the Locked On College Football podcast. Who has a chance to make the playoff? What teams will cause chaos in their new conferences? Everything you need to know, all in one place. Be sure to follow and subscribe to the Locked On College Football podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So, like I said, every day, thank you to the everydayers. Thank you for the feedback. It is all good. So, the wide receiver room got a major boost today. All right. And it's because Darian Wiley's coming off the injured list, right? He's been out all camp, I think, since the second practice, even with some he was banged up, beat up, whatever you want to call it. He was injured and he wasn't practicing. And that room was struggling a little bit. I don't know if it's because of him, but it certainly didn't help that he was down. So, he was one that I was excited about when he transferred in. He was the guy that I thought, hey, short to intermediate. He was like the other Jeremiah Dillon when it came to talent, like when it came to skills. Right now, Jeremiah Dillon hasn't, kind of lived up to that just quite yet. Maybe Darian Wiley can, because Darian Wiley is a guy that is going to be really good, short to intermediate, and even deep if we can get the ball to him from the quarterback position, which is a concern that I have. But he's also somebody that in an RPO can take a slant and get big yardage there, because this offense is going to need to move methodically with chunk plays and explosives from time to time. Okay. This is not going to be an offense that's going to be highly explosive. It's just not. It's designed where it could be, but I think the guy leading it is somebody that's going to help it be just kind of more of a ball control, field position control, score when you can, be efficient, effective, that type of thing, right? And then strike when you get chances. And I think that's where Darren Wiley comes into play. I think that's why he is going to be special, because Junior Sherrill can hit some big plays, right? Quincy Skinner can hit some big plays here and there. Darren Wiley is somebody that also, he's played special teams. He seems to be a little bit more explosive, a little more twitchy than the other guys. Seems to be able to just kind of glide a little bit. I mean, he just seems more sudden than the other two. And so, with that being said, let's say you get a deep route over the middle, or an intermediate route over the middle, like 15 to 18 yards. That's kind of on the borderline of intermediate to deep. So you catch one in that zone there, you make one guy miss, boom, it's off to the races. And all three of those guys that I just mentioned can do that. But I think Darren Wiley is the guy that's going to be most potent in doing that. He's also a guy that I think can, in the red zone, can win some jump balls, can hit some double moves, can do some things around the goal line to be able to get the ball across the goal line and not have to run it 65% of the time. Because I think I think to achieve true balance, I think if we get bogged down into a heavy run, or we get locked into where we have to air the ball out a ton, I don't think that's going to be good either way. Even though our identity is to run and play defense, I think there's got to be some balance. And I think there's going to be some balance within the run game. I think there's going to be some things for these receivers to be able to function and contribute in the passing game, where you can run RPOs, screens, things like that to get the ball on the edge and get it down the field a little bit. Vanderbilt is just going to have to get used to, and they're going to have to play really clean, which can be difficult at times just in general. But they're just going to have to accept 5, 6, 7, 8 yard gains in the passing game, and hopefully breaking a tackle and getting more. So they'll just have to, honestly, they'll just have to do that for now, and then try to take shots where they can, where, where there might be a 2 quarterback system. It's going to be, there's a lot that can happen between now and the end of the season as far as the quarterback position goes, because they're going to be involved in the run game. There could be injuries there. So different quarterbacks provide different avenues for the offense. Like Nate Johnson comes in, you might have more of a downfield attack because he has a stronger arm. Darren Wiley's a guy that can win those things and can provide a little bit of relief in the fact that he can stretch the field. And just the threat of him stretching the field backs the defense off even a little bit, can create horizontal space by doing that, and create open lanes and things like that for the other receivers. So he opens up a lot of things. That's his impact, because he's explosive. He's fast. He can get it done. He can take it. Like I mentioned before, he can take those slants and make big yardage out of them. He's a guy that can break tackles. He was a guy that in special teams was a return guy, Louisiana Monroe. Like, he was electric, and he has an attitude to go with it. So I think just bringing that attitude to a room that's kind of struggling with their confidence right now, you bring a little bit of attitude, that could also do some things. That could also turn that room around a little bit. You just don't know. Like, you add one guy in there, in a negative way. We talk about it all the time in a negative way. You add one guy in there, it takes the whole thing down. Well, why not look at it from a positive mindset? You had one guy in there, and all of a sudden the room just lights up a little bit, and everybody just kind of rises up a little bit. And next thing you know, you got guys making plays a little bit. They're getting open. They're blocking for each other. They're taking screens from going 1, 2, 3 yards to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 yards, moving the chains and things like that. And then all of a sudden, boom. You just got to be patient, and then those guys have got to be patient, right? And the offense has got to be patient, and that's going to be a major key there for for this group. If they can remain patient, I think there's going to be opportunities out there. They just got to be able to take advantage of them when they strike, and they've got to be a little bit more effective because those opportunities probably aren't going to come as frequently. So, but none of this matters if the offensive line picture is not clear. And all throughout camp, as I've mentioned before, they're experimenting with combinations. It's a new scheme, a new philosophy, apparently, with the strong and the quick stuff. So they're getting used to that. They're getting used to communicating. They're getting used to not seeing the same guy beside them every single time, whether it's by the design of rotating guys around via play, or if it's just, okay, he's going to go in at this guard and he's going to play here, and we're just doing the shuffle with personnel to see who fits. Whatever the case may be, the offensive line needs clearing up, and we'll talk about how that looks because I think the picture's starting to come into focus a little bit. We'll talk about it next. All right. This episode is also brought to you by Ibata. Ibata. Are you taking that dream vacation this summer but dreading the cost? With Ibata, you can get cash back on all of your purchases so you can spend more time making memories this summer and less time dreaming about them. Ibata is a free app that lets you earn cash back every time you shop. Earn on hundreds of items from groceries to beauty supplies and even toys. So make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. The average Ibata user earns $256 per year. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip or that flight you've been eyeing or the fancy dinner you've been craving. Other apps give you points that don't amount to much, but with Ibata, you earn cash back that you can withdraw to your bank account, PayPal, or gift cards. Simply add offers in the app, upload your receipt, and voila, money is yours. You can save on over 2,400 brands, 2,400 brands, and shop at over 1,000 retailers, including your favorite grocery stores, Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and more. It's time that you've joined over the 50 million users who use Ibata to earn cash back every time they shop. Right now, Ibata is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibata by using the code LOCKEDONMLB when you register. So just go to the app, or just go to the App Store or Google Play and download the free Ibata app to start earning cash back and use code LOCKEDONMLB. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store and use code LOCKEDONMLB. All right, welcome back. We are wrapping up the show here pretty soon, talking about the offense and talking about what needs to happen. Well, in order to make this a unique and imposing environment, this offense is going to have to be more of a well-oiled machine because I think the defense is going to be there. They're going to be stingy, stout, however you want to describe defense, right? But in order for this thing to work, you can't just play good defense and just be completely ineffective on offense. You have to have some semblance of something. You have to have an identity. You have to be effective. And so in doing that, I think employing a new offensive line strategy, which if you want to go listen to that episode where I talk about exactly what the strategy is, the strong side, quick side strategy, that takes time. That takes time to shore up. That takes time to set your personnel to that when it's always been the traditional left guard, left tackle, center, right guard, right tackle personnel situation, right? And fitting guys into those spots. Now you're fitting guys into spots where they rotate based on the play. And so timing of that, the personnel of that, the logistics of that, how you decide how that goes, how you practice how that goes, how you figure out who goes where, that takes time. That takes reps. That takes experimentation. And I think that's what's been happening. But the good news is it all may be clearing up now. You might be getting a picture now what this offensive line is going to look like. Okay. And it kind of surprised me a little bit when I saw what I think may be the first offensive line, the first group out, because Stephen Hubbard wasn't on it. And I think he's been crushing it in camp this year. So I was kind of surprised to see that. But the list, as of right now, this is the projected starting lineup for for Vanderbilt's offensive line. Your quick tackle is going to be Gunnar Hansen, which I'm not surprised by that. Your quick guard is going to be Kivo Wesley. Your center is going to be Steven Lasoya. Your strong guard is going to be Xavier Castillo, and your strong tackle being Chase Mitchell. So Chase Mitchell being a little bit shorter than Hansen made sense. I projected him to be the right tackle, which would kind of in turn, I guess, could translate over to being the strong tackle because you're doing a lot of down blocking. So the tackles, I'm not surprised at all. I pretty much expected this. I expected Hansen to be the left and Mitchell to be the right, but in a sense of the word, it kind of fit in right where they are projected to be quick tackle and strong tackle, respectively. So not surprised by the tackles. I like that. I think Chase Mitchell is going to be really good. Gunnar Hansen was the best offensive lineman that came back from a year ago. He's gonna do some good things, and this new philosophy should showcase his strengths better and limit exposure into his weak points. So I think that's going to be good. Kivo Wesley, somebody I was kind of surprised about. He's been kind of beat up this summer a little bit, and he's just been kind of there. You haven't heard much from him. You heard more from Stephen Hubbard, which I'm surprised is not the quick guard and could end up being the quick guard by the time we get past the Virginia Tech game. He certainly will be rotating in, but I think ultimately he could be taking that spot over. But Kivo Wesley, as of right now, running with the ones. And Steven Lasoya, no surprise there. He's taking over at center. Him and Cade McConnell are going to be the centers. And I think this is good that Vanderbilt's found a guy that has SEC starting experience to play that center position, because this is not an easy league to play in. He understands the lay of the land, and he knows what it's like to be on a team that's deficient with with talent, right? Because Mississippi State is from roster from top to bottom has not been as good as the teams they play against, and same with Vanderbilt. It's true. So Xavier Castillo, a lot of people claim him to be overweight, but as a strong guard, I think that might be perfect for the job description, to be honest with you. Being a strong guard, you're going to be doing a lot of down blocking, a lot of combos with the center on the nose or the one technique, driving guys out of there. Rarely, I say rarely, I don't want to say never, but rarely are you going to be blocking on the next level. Rarely you're going to be pulling. You might pull a little bit, but the worst you might do is just kind of cut off a backside linebacker as you climb up on an outside zone maybe. But most of the time you're going to be blocking down on a defensive lineman or a backside linebacker. So you're just going to be kind of creating a wall. So you want a bigger guy there that can kind of do that. Now, if it was just a standard right guard, left guard, I think you would have maybe two guys that can pull. But I think moving the quick guard around and being able to pull him will be actually beneficial. And Castillo will probably have to pull a little bit, but he'll be able to kind of hang in there and just down block and just clear things out. And that's what we're hoping for, right? And then in pass pro, just create that wall, create that pocket, and just that big body is, as long as his feet can kind of hang with that, I think that'll be good. So, but the offensive line picture clearing up, I think should make people feel a little bit more comfortable. The reports from today's practice were that the offense was a little bit cleaner, and I think that has something to do with Diego Pavia starting to kind of take over. They haven't officially named him the starter. Probably won't for gamesmanship, but he's the starter. Let's be honest. He's taking over. I think Nate Johnson might be starting to come out of this slump. I think with that picture clearing up, I think some of the pressure is off Nate Johnson now, and he can just kind of focus on just getting better and not focusing on the pressures of winning the quarterback one job, which I think he started to kind of feel midway through camp. So I think that clearing up is going to help. The offensive line clearing up is going to help people feel better. And I think it's going to get people in a sense of, okay, well, maybe now we can start working on building some chemistry and working on some things that are going to help us be more effective and possibly explosive. So that'll be good. that'll be good to experience, and I think that'll be good for this offense as a whole as they work towards getting ready for Virginia Tech. So that being said, you hope that each and every day this team gets better and better and better. But that's a work in progress, as always, as anything worth having. But that's what I'm going to leave you with here today. Thank you for listening. If you want to find us at Coach Burton 36 is my personal X account, at Locked On Vandy on all social media platforms. Follow the show. Check us out. Tell a friend. All that good stuff. Hope you liked it. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Behave yourselves. And, of course, anchor down.